Hello again and welcome back to the Unloved Garage. So today we're in for quite a different video, as the thumbnail probably suggests. Over my shoulder you can see, and hear of course, my Nissan Skyline, my R33 Skyline. So this is the kind of car that you all, generally speaking, know me for, and if you don't, welcome to the channel. Make sure you drop a like and subscribe and a comment, by the way. But whilst you all know me for these things, where's the future going to go? These are technically the past. These are 30 plus year old. Where are we going next? That's what we're going to try and answer today. So my friend has a BMW i8, which I want to go and take a look at in person and see what it's like and try and give you an idea what it's like in comparison to things like that. But before we get up there, just have a listen to what you're missing out on if you do go electric. Now before we go take a look at this BMW, let me just go through something. I've always grown up around cars like this, and I'm sure a lot of you have that are watching this. But the BMW i8 is the more modern car than pretty much anything that I personally own. Is that a good thing? I don't know. Is it a bad thing? It's a matter of opinion. I love my old cars, as you all know. I'm passionate about my old cars. But let's go get a first-hand look at what this is actually like. Alright, so over my shoulder is the car that we're talking about. Now this is completely different from my entire concept of love of cars. As I say, you all know me for my older cars, but this one is a lot newer, a lot different, and entirely different in many ways. Let me go through this. This car was originally, I believe, grey. The wrap that's on it is, I don't know exactly what the colour is, but it's obviously a bright green. Again, don't know how well it portrays on camera, and it's also got a PPF over it as well. So my friends had the kit on it as well, so the Maxing Design kit's on it, so that's a little bit different to most cars, with a couple of little bits and pieces done across the way as well. But the question is, what's it actually like? As you're getting in, let me change the camera, there we go. There is quite a step as you get into there, and I'll tell you for why. The car's not a metal construction. This is a carbon fibre tub, I believe, and it's one sort of entire piece the whole way across. But when you are inside, bring down the Lamborghini style doors, it's actually quite a nice place to be. It's not a massive interior, but it's not intended to be a family car. These are somewhere between, I think, a sports car and a supercar, which is completely different to what you normally see with us, but it is really nice inside the car. Now, I always have been, always will be an advocate for an old petrol engine, and we, as you know, try to save as many of them as possible. We try to save the old cars, we build the old cars, but things like this are actually the future. The intention is, as far as I'm aware, that certain manufacturers are going to stop production of older petrol engine cars and move into essentially things that are built in a similar style, albeit not as elaborate as this, which I think is the way it's going. In some senses, that's a shame, but in some senses, it's not a bad thing. Because realistically, when things like this first started, you know, your automatic gearbox, for example, they were a rare sort of thing back in the day. Everybody drove a manual, and then these days you've got DSG, DCTs, and all this kind of stuff, and various other letters that basically mean it's automatic. But it makes for a different experience, and in that it makes the car feel completely different to drive, because you're going through power a lot quicker, and this has got paddles on the steering wheel. You can blip through the gears, and ultimately you will not change gear. I don't care how quick you are, you will not change gear in a manual gearbox half as quick as you would in something like this. But I think the real question is, what would I do? Now, for me personally, I will forever stand by my older cars. I'll forever love them, I'll forever keep them, and there's a couple that I'll never get rid of. But looking into things like this, I can sort of get it. The upkeep and the maintenance might be a completely different story in, 10 years time. It might be completely different to the cars that we're trying to save that are older today. But cars like this, it is the way that we're going, unfortunately. And whether you agree, whether you disagree, let us know in the comments, because change is probably upon us. And I was only swayed by this more recently when we had a Tesla in the garage, and apart from its bright white interior, actually I liked it. Controversial, I know. So I understand there's a fair bit of debate in these, whether it is or isn't a supercar. that's another story. That's one we're not going to get involved in, but it looks really, really cool, let's be honest. But if you were to ask me, would I go buy one? I don't know. I really don't. It would depend on a lot of things, and it's ultimately how it makes you feel. But none of that can take away from how it looks. It is a really cool looking car. They drive phenomenally, they handle phenomenally, and they have got, as I say, about 400 brake horsepower. And when the car itself only weighs about 1.4 tons, 1400 kilograms, give or take, it's not bad power to weight ratio. It's no, million horsepower supercar by any means, but they're not actually overpriced. So as I say, if this is something that you are interested in, this exact car is for sale at the moment. As I said, the link to that is in the description below. Alright, so I know that there's two questions that regularly come up in cars in general, not necessarily just cars like this, but cars in general. And I think the two of them have to be comfort. That's pretty comfortable. And reliability. And you can read for yourself online that the feedback on these is a bit mixed, it's a bit up and down, but people are expecting different things from a car that it's necessarily not. If you wanted a flame spitting Ferrari or something like that, you'd go buy one. If you wanted one of those, go drive it. They're a good car. I think the last question I've got for myself would be the transition into moving from cars that, again, that you all know me for, to things like this. I think it's interesting. I really do. I think the technology's come a long way, but from a mechanical standpoint, as a mechanic as I am, whether it's something that I'm ready to move into, I don't know. Definitely wouldn't give up what I've got to have something like that. As much as I can appreciate them, I love my older cars. They're few and far between, and realistically, if the day came in the future where I decided I wanted one, they would still be presumably available despite all the battery situation, obviously. Whereas the older cars, I would never get rid of them, as I say, to have something like that, simply because if they're gone, and a lot of people do the same thing, they are gone, they'll either be, few and far between museums and unattainable, whereas these things will be still around, hopefully, as I say. So I think I'm going to conclude on one simple thing. Yes, I like them, yes, I appreciate them, but I don't think I'd be ready to give up that in order to have one. They work, they're brilliant, they're an enjoyable drive, but that's got a lot more soul and a lot more character, in my opinion. So there we go. Thank you very much for watching. Make sure you are subscribed, and going forward we're going to be doing a few different videos like this one. So give me some feedback, drop a like, drop a comment, and let me know. I'll see you in the next one.